Okay, so thanks to Signature, we got to check out Rust. Yeah, I don't think anyone thought this film was going to actually come out, but it is, right? It is written and directed by Joel Souza, who, yeah, I think came up with the story with Alec Baldwin. That's what I believe happened. All right, now the film is produced by Alec Baldwin and Matt Del Piano, along with, I do believe, Joel Souza produces too. Nathan Kinger, Grant Hill. There's a lot of people involved in this film, which kind of makes sense after everything that kind of went down. Angel Nigam, Ryan Donald Smith, Melanie Spadone, Ryan Winterstone, all produced as well. It's executive produced by Sama Zeta, Arash Zari, Phil Wilson, Ahuva Weinberg, Caleb Wiley, Rama Wagner, Katinka van der Meer, David Trende, Steven Suber, Spencer Strickland, Scott Somerville, Rebecca Shriver, Sylvanus Sasbu, Gary Russell, Rachel Robinson Zeta, Mason Zizou, Adam Remis, Jared Ramirez, Sarah Ramazan, Alariza Ramazan, Brian Popleka, Mike Pipala, Gabrielle Pickle is line production, also executive producing, Judith Marion Phillips, Manish Pandya, David Nielsen, Tyler M. Nielsen, Eric Ney, Amir Nazari, Julian Movesian, Howard Morin, Jason Morgan, Ruxana Muhammad, Ibrahim Muhammad, Garrett Myers, Liam Lindmeyer, Robert Melendez, Dharma, I think actually Mita, Matthew McFarlane, John McHugh, Matthew May, Dane Maxwell, Jeremy Mathis, Carl Martinu, Stephanie A. Maricano II, Justin Malayo, Richard Lucking, Chad Lucking, Gerardo Lopez, Teresi Lopes, Frank Lombardozzi, William Lasher, Ryan Lang, Ray Kermani, Jonathan Catanova, Jordan Kaplowitz, Danny Candova, Timothy Callanan, Idrit Jalal, Jack Jacob, Nezemk Izanoue, Matthew Hutchins, Joe Ho, Tina Harrington, Marshall Harrington, Levi Herney, Matthew Helderman, Stephanie Hayes, Ifran Hasoloa, Azif Hasaloa, Richard Gray, Peter Graham, Tyler Gold, Keith Goss, Lorena Gomez Barris, Aaron Garner, Brandon Vindake, Carlos Emery, Cade Durio, Jefferson Dungan, James Dudley, Peter Downing, Kyle Doney, Sam Trekkerson, Jordan E. Delaney, Justin Dean, Jeffrey Danielson, Michael Kazmak, James Cunningham, Troy Cronk, Christopher Conaby, Rick Clemens, Alan Cheney, Jared Brown, Carter Boehm, Marco Balassini, Mohammed Ahmed, and Brandon Aguilera. Boy, so many fucking people involved on that. That's kind of crazy, man. That is crazy. Anyway, cinematographer. The original cinematographer was Helena Hutchins, and after her tragic death, Bianca Klein took over. David Edelman edits the piece. Production design is Brian Novell. Set decoration is Maxwell Graves and Roberta Marquez Serret. Therese Davis is costume design. Hair and makeup, we have Court Winterbourne, Monica Spendlove, Whitney Peterson, Melissa Oteri, Katya Luce, Stacey Lockhart, Lisa Hill, Sierra Rose Griffin, Sarah Dickman, and Catherine Durana. Right, so our cast, who is actually in this joint. Right, so Alec Baldwin is Harland Rust. We then have got his sister, Evelyn Bassett, played by Frances Fisher. Hold on, who else do we have? There is his, what would you call it? His nephew? Grandson. Lucas Hollister, played by Patrick Scott McDermott. There is Lucas's brother. His brother isn't listed there. Let's have a look. His brother is Jacob Hollister, played by Easton Malcolm. There is the way everything is listed, it's all over the place. Alright, we'll just go with Wood Helm next, who's played by Josh Hopkins. Fenton Lang, played by Travis Fimmel. Cleet LaFontaine, played by Reese Corio. Boone Lafontaine, played by Devon Workaisa. Blackburn, played by Xander Berkeley. Drum Parker, played by Jake Busey. Big Bill Cochran, played by Abraham Benrubi. Dick Muller, played by Travis Hammer. Lawrence Sitwell, played by Nick Farnell. Willard Leroy, played by Sam Carson. Sheriff Tom Long, played by Richard Gunn. Abigail, played by Asha B. There's Aria Alpert Ajani, who plays Kate Bowdry. Emma Helm is played by Mary Kay Riley. Gabriel Clark plays Charles Gantry. Ike Clayton, played by Vic Browder. Rio Alexander is Anselmo. Clayton Gantry is played by Everett Blank. And that is the son of Charles Gantry, right? And he's a bully, Clayton. Emmett is played by Golden Garnick. Samuel Budry, played by Ewan Simpson. I think that's probably our main lot of people, right? So, who else? Alright, let's get to the gist of the film, which is a 13-year-old boy left to fend for himself and his younger brother following their parents' deaths in 1880s. Wyoming goes on a run with his long estranged grandfather after he's sentenced to hang for the accidental killing of a local rancher. Right, so yeah, I mean, as I said, there's so much controversy about this film because Helena Hutchins was tragically killed by a stray bullet on set. Souza was injured in the same shooting. I mean, we won't even go into that, right? It's a lot of shit happened, and I don't think anyone really knows the whole gist, so we'll leave it as a tragedy happened, you know? The set got shut down, but eventually they decided to finish the film, right? And they did, but it was just sitting there for a while, right? Finally got picked up and it's getting released. Now, I will say, because it sounded like a bit of a shambles shoot, right? And sometimes you hear about shoots like this and they actually work out, right? Things, and the film is great. I won't say this film is great, but I will say it could be one of the best performances from Baldwin in a while. You know what I mean? Like, he actually doesn't play a bad Rust. And the acting, for the most part, is pretty solid. There are performances that are hammy. There are performances that are okay, but a little flat. I think the script is the weakest part here. Just because, well, it gets very convoluted, right? With all the people after Rust. It's just, there's so many people, and it just feels like, wait, who are these? Why are they here? Why are they coming? You know what I mean? It just felt like, pare it back a little, you know? You've got, like, some of the dialogue is not the best. You know what I mean? You've got weird dialogue and like things characters do, like the Abigail character. That whole situation is very bizarre. Like it felt like it went nowhere, right? It felt like the character is not needed. You remove that character, it's the same film. You know what I mean? Doesn't add any depth. It doesn't really do anything. And you're left like, wait, where did this go? So you have that character. Also, this scene that kind of has why Lucas is on the run doesn't really make any sense. Because it's just like, to take the shot, you have to look up. And it's not like it's looking up, it's fire, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, to not see, it doesn't make any sense. You know? The only way it works is if you're firing over a hill, right? And coming up over the crest as you press. You know what I mean? But it was flat. So that doesn't work. You know what I mean? Just that inciting incident makes no sense. Right? If you could make that work, then you're like, okay, right, we have something here. But you have that, right? And then you've got certain things that happen, like there's the incident with the mum and the son in the cabin. That's just a whole weird situation that you're just like, wait, what? Like, it's very bizarre. Doesn't make any sense. You know, there's no need for it. So you just have these things that are cluttering up the story, right? The other big thing for me is the fact that you have, you know, the Western, and it kind of looks all Westerny, but it also then looks very clean and too neat and tidy, and you know what I mean? Like, everyone's teeth are good. You have people riding for days, but there's not really any dirt on them, right? From the ride across dusty lands, right? It's this kind of detail that really does bring these things alive a lot of the time, right? Like, if someone's shot, like, blood's gonna spread. So if you don't see any blood, if it's just suddenly this little patch, you're just like, wait, that's not how blood works. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, it's just things like that just make it kind of shaky and take away from what it could have been, right? I think we've seen good Westerns. You know what I mean? So there's a lot to live up to. And we just had the thicket, which, you know, really did hit a lot of these little details. And we had these scenarios that made sense. And, you know, the thing being, there's certain things that happened. And at first, you're like, wait, what? But then you know what I mean, realize what that character is or what they're doing. You're like, oh, shit, yeah, they would do that, or that's how that should play out, right? So these things work. And like, it's the facial expressions, it's the mannerisms. The thicket did it well. With Rust, we don't really get that. You know what I mean? You dressed people to kind of look like, you know, a sheriff, you know what I mean, oh my God, I can't think of words. Like, just an outlaw, you know, whatever. You've managed to do that, right? So you've got the initial of the pull, but then you lose people with the other detail. And that's always a big one. Right? It's the way people's drop to the floor dead. doesn't necessarily feel legit, you know? So it's a shame that these things drag this down. Now, I don't think we know how much was filmed before the incident and then how much they had to pick up at the end. Because if they had to pick up a lot, I imagine it probably wasn't the funnest set to be on after that, right? Or it was just mad weird. So I think that's definitely going to impact things and performances and all of that, unless someone can really rein it in, right? And really get it, you know, make sure we do enough takes so we get that scene. Like, just, you'd have to do all of that. So, you know, judging this film, it's difficult when you don't know what actually happened after the fact. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's an odd one. As I said, Baldwin actually doesn't give a bad his performance is pretty decent considering everything. It gets a little shaky in certain scenes and trying to convey certain emotions, but after seeing him some really bad things like this, you know what I mean? Yeah, he did show more of a range with his acting chops for it. So, yeah, if you like a Western, if you like Alec Baldwin, if you're curious, you might want to check out Rust. You know what I mean? As I said, it's when you think of some of the great Westerns, yeah, Unforgiven, right? A Fistful of Dollars, yeah, just, you know the ones, people. You know the ones. Young Guns. There's so many, right? That were just like, oh, that was so good. You know, and then, as I said, we just had the Thicket that really did a great job. So you always find yourself judging, you know, the film against those things. Maybe if we had none of those, you might look at it differently. It might, you know, give you a better vibe, but there's just these things that are holding it back, you know? But it's out. It probably is out by the time this drops. So all the links will be on the website if you want to go and check out Rust. People, be my guest and let me know how you think, right? How did this work for you? Did you enjoy it? Right? Did it speak authentic Western to you? Right? Or were you a little like, it's okay, but it didn't quite hit the mark? Let me know. All right? That was my thoughts on Rust.